This is Clash Royale's new game mode, Merge Tactics, and today I'm going to be sharing some helpful tips and tricks that the game doesn't tell you but are incredibly helpful. Like the amount of damage your towers take. It seems totally random. One minute you're losing 2 HP and the next you lose 6 and immediately lose the match. What's going on here? Well, it's actually not random. The way it works is the damage you take is the amount of troops the enemy has when they beat you. So the more troops they have left, the more whooping you take. Specifically, it's the number of troops left plus 1. So if they have 2 troops left, you'll take 3 damage. 3 troops left, you'll take 4, and so on. A good way to remember is to just count the amount of troops they have, including their ruler, and that's the damage you'll be taking. This also applies to the damage you do. It's the amount of troops you have left plus your ruler. Keep in mind though that this does not include spawn troops like the skeletons from a Skeleton King, for example, but it does count goblins spawn from the goblin trait. So next time you take an insane amount of damage and lose the game so quick, it's because the opponent has so many troops left. But speaking of having so many troops, make sure they're not copies of the same troop, at least if you want to take advantage of the trait bonuses. There's nothing wrong with having 2 of the same troop if that's what you're going for. However, it's important to know that that copy of the troop doesn't count toward the trait bonus. So for example, there are 3 rangers available in the current season, right? If you have 3 of them deployed, they will all get that bonus of increased attack speed per attack. However, if you have something like, let's say, 2 princesses and 1 dark goblin, you're not gonna get that bonus because you need 1 of each, not 2 of the same troop. So it's important that if you do have duplicates, try to merge them ASAP or sell them back to the shop for another troop with the same trait. But now that we're on the topic of selling stuff, by the way, there are 2 ways to do this. You can either tap the card and tap sell, or tap and hold if it's in the bench, or simply drag troops to the shop. Anyway, selling cards is crucial because it's the only way to cycle cards. At least it's part of it. An easy way to cycle cards is to just buy cheap ones and sell them. It's that simple. But before you go on selling everything, another related tip I have on the topic of selling is to merge that troop before selling it back, if you can. I understand that it's not always going to be possible or the smartest thing to do, but if you have the elixir for it and you can't deploy anything else, and you get lucky with the card cycle, merge it, because selling a merged card sells for more than if you had sold it individually. For example, let's say you bought 2 knights for 2 elixir each. You spent 4 elixir total, right? If you sold those knights, they would only sell for 1 elixir, so you're out 2 elixir. However, if you just put it on the bench and wait until you can merge those knights, it would sell for 3 elixir, so you're only out 1 elixir. Basically, even though you'll still be losing some elixir, the merged troops sell for more, reducing the amount you lost. So if you can, do it. And even better, if you're rocking with the Spirit Empress, sometimes you can sell troops at a 0 loss because of her ability to give you 1 elixir for every merge. But merging, the main goal of the game, right? Merge tactics, aside from winning the match, of course. But sometimes merging is impossible. That's why it's important to understand the pool of cards. Each card only has 4 copies available in the entire game. Meaning, throughout all 4 players, there are only 4 copies of any given card. If you and another opponent have the same card, it will get harder to merge because you are sharing those 4 available cards. But luckily, you have some control over this that can help you win a match. You can pull cards out of this pool by putting them in your bench. Ideally, you would only do this when you have the spare elixir, but in doing so, you are making that card unavailable for other players. This can come in handy in many scenarios. For example, if you want it for yourself but can't deploy it or merge it yet. Another way to use this to your advantage is to essentially deny your opponent from pulling that card to prevent them from merging further. For example, if you see someone has a 2-star troop and you want to stop them from getting it to level 3, you can pull that card from the pool even if you don't have any intentions to use it. So always pay attention to what troops others are using. This will not only help you build your comp, but also to deny troops your opponents may need. But before we move on from merging, I wanted to briefly go over what it takes to get each star level. In order to get a 2-star troop, you need 2 of the same troop. For a 3-star troop, you need 4 copies of that troop, and this can be achieved by merging 2 2-star troops. And finally, 4-star troops, yes, it is possible, you'll need 8 copies of that card. You may be looking at me like, how's that even possible? You just went over that there's only 4 copies of any card. Well, the first way is by using goblins. Their bonus trait spawns goblins every match, exceeding those 4 original copies. That's why, more often than not, at least in the current season, a 4-star troop is a goblin. The other way is with game modifiers. At the beginning of every match, it will tell you what that modifier is, and you can also tap it under your ruler during the match. Some game modifiers, for example, the one called 4 stars, doubles the cards available in the pool. I'm sure there are other modifiers that can help you achieve a 4-star troop. Alright, this next tip has to do with the noble trait. The bonus explains that frontline troops take less damage while backline troops gain bonus damage, but it doesn't explain what that means or where is the back or front line. So I'm here to tell you. The front line is the first 2 rows, and the back line is the other 2 or the bottom 2 lines. And so basically for the noble trait, anything in the first 2 rows will take less damage, and troops sitting in the bottom 2 will gain bonus damage. And it doesn't matter if troops walk away from the back line, the bonus effect is added at the start of the phase, so it depends on where they were when the match started. For example, in this clip, I put my knight at the back line, and at the start of the match, he received the bonus damage for being in the back line. Of course, the knight walks to the front line because he's a melee, but he still has that bonus damage from the back line. He doesn't lose it or suddenly gain the frontline bonus. So next time the noble trait bonus is active, make sure to place troops according to which buff you want them to get. Now that I'm yapping about traits, I thought it'd be a good time to remind you that merge tactics at the core is, yes, about merging, but most importantly, synergy. Synergy is the key to success in this game mode. If you don't know what the traits are or what bonuses they give, I highly recommend that we are not in a battle, go to your loadout, tap on card pool, tap on any troop, and just read the traits. It tells you what exactly they do, each and every one of them. And hey, you can even sort this page to find all of them easier. These bonuses only activate when you have deployed enough troops with the same trait. You can see it counting for you on the left side during the match, and cards in the shop even have a special effect to let you know that this card has the same trait as one of the cards you have deployed. It's basically telling you to pick it. This is synergy at the most basic level, pairing things together for bonuses. Synergy also means pairing other traits together. For example, if the enemy has a strong backline of rangers, if you add the assassin trait to, let's say, your goblins, they will jump to the backline and potentially take them out very fast. I'm not here to give you great combos, but I'm just saying goblins and assassins is a great example of good synergy. And hey, if you're confused during a match on the icons, like you don't remember which one is which, you can always tap and hold if they're in the shop or the bench, or tap them if they're already deployed, and it will tell you the traits right under their name. But name, it's the perfect segue to the next tip. Check your opponent's troops by clicking on their name on the top, specifically when there is one opponent left, because you know you'll be taking them on in the next round. But most importantly, you're looking for what kind of troops they're using so that you can adjust your layout. For example, do they have a prince? You know it's going to hit the nearest troop and fling them across the map. What about giant skeleton? You know it does splash damage, so maybe you'll want to spread out your troops so that they're attacking different things and not all grouped together. Do they have the assassin trait active? They're going after your backline, so maybe move those out of the way. This recently happened to me, and I did the exact same thing, and it worked out perfectly. Look at this. He had no idea. I don't think I'm that great of a player, but these are just some basic things that you can look out for if you have the extra time during the match. This next tip is more of a explanation because I've seen this asked quite a bit, and it is, do card levels matter in merge tactics? Like, does the level of your cards in the rest of the game even matter? Because when you go to the card pool, you'll see that they have levels and you can even upgrade them there, so it's gotta mean something, right? Well, short answer, yes. Long answer, yes, it does matter, but only a little bit. Each level gives the cards 2% more HP and damage. if you go upgrade the card, you'll see that the stats don't go up as much as regular Clash Royale, where it's 10%. You'll likely not notice a difference during the match with a couple of level differences, but yes, it does matter, and that 2% adds up over time. So if you plan on playing a lot of merge tactics, I personally would focus on upgrading those cards, but it's really up to you. At the moment, I am currently only playing merge tactics, so it makes sense for me to dump all my resources at it. However, do keep in mind that this is a seasonal game mode, so the next season, the card you upgraded might not even be in the card pool. Be prepared to be disappointed. And finally, the last tip is just a combination of a couple of small things that might be useful, like you can swap troops by dragging them onto each other instead of having to drag them each separately. Before buying a troop from the shop, you can tap and hold it to check the stats and it will not buy it. And finally, the elixir pump. If you want to sell it, you have to drag it to the shop. I'm not sure if this is intended, as you can tap other troops to sell them, but yeah, currently, at least right now, the elixir pump, you have to drag it to the shop to sell it. But yeah, those are 10 tips for merge tactics. I don't know how much of you are actually playing this and if anyone will actually watch this, but I was inspired to make this video after playing it myself and realizing that the game doesn't tell you a whole lot of important things. There's a lack of a good tutorial that I think they need to add. Anyways, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed, but hey, YouTube thinks you'll like this next video, so why don't you check it out. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!